Anyway. Thank you very much. Thank you. Sawa, asanteni sana. Thank you very much. My name is Bett, fellow from Ajibika Youth Leadership Program, and I'm very excited to be here. We are heading to the climax, guys. Wangapi wanapenda climax? So we okay, I was talking about the climax in this setting, sawa? Yeah, sawa. Okay. Thank you very much. Morgan Waithaka is a fellow at the Ajibika Youth Leadership Program. Can you give it up for Morgan Waithaka? And then secondly, we have a honorable member of the parliament. That is a member of parliament for Mukurweni constituency. That is one and only John Kaguchia. Give it up for member of parliament. Our honorable member of parliament has been a speaker before, and during his time he was elected as the best speaker in of our county assembly. And lastly, we have another member of the Senate. That is a senator for which county, guys? If you can guess. Senator for Makueni. Senator Dan Maanzo for you, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, guys. My name is Daniel Maanzo, Senator from Makueni. I was in University of Nairobi. I'm an alumni of this university. And went to Parklands and left here in 1998. I became a young lawyer working in the law firm of Feroz Doroji, where I met Orengo and Kiraitu Murungi. And that's the first time I created interest in politics as we dealt with election petition cases. And then I want to recognize the presence of Wakili Jiro. Who is a young man like you, aspiring also to high office, and he'll be giving closing remarks so that also he can cap up a lot of ideas you have. You know, I'm with a member from Mukurweni, Honorable Kaguchia, who has been a member of this team. And that tells you can get to where he is. After participating in politics as a person who will tingle and deal with political parties, after the 2008 elections, President Kibaki appointed me to be the Secretary of Youth and Sports. And upon my appointment, I took Kenya to the Olympics in 2008, having done the African Championship in Addis Ababa. And you know, great young people, Jelimo and Wanjiru, who won the marathon in the world that time. Unfortunately, later on passed on. You could see the power of the youth and what pride young people could bring to their country. Later on, I went to revive the cooperatives. And I was a secretary of cooperatives. My minister was Joseph Nyaga, who was my client in an election petition in 2003. And then later on, I left the government service, you know, before President Kibaki left, so that I could try my hand in politics in Makueni constituency. And that time I was competing with the PC Keilu, who was the incumbent. And I succeeded, in that election. And that time I only beat him with 2,000 votes. In 2017, we were back with him. I beat him with 52,000 votes. And then later on, I was to compete with my governor and my professor of law, Professor Kaguchia. It was very tough. And therefore, I got elected as senator for Makueni. I've been part of this team in the many arrangements we do. And I'm here tonight to encourage you and tell you you can do it. You know what the youths in this country have done. But I want to encourage you to be smart, because we're also dealing with very smart people. And also some of them who know how to crook things, who know how to bend the constitution without breaking it, and use the panyaloots in law and get away with almost everything. So you got to be smart when you deal in this process. And I believe 2027 is for the young people. I can assure you, the many people you see in the National Assembly and in the Senate will be replaced by the youth. I want to give you a good example. And if you see that lady, tell her this is what I wish her. There's a lady in Eldoret, the one who led the Gen Z movement there, and the one who refused to be misused by politicians, and the one who said they must be prosecuted for stealing our money. That lady, Mercy Tarus, if she stood in the next election against the current senator, without a poster, without money, she will beat him 10-0 with 90% of the vote. If you can win a university election, you can win any election. And there are a lot of university student leaders, beginning with Orengo, who have gone through parliament. And when you are in parliament, you will be a member of parliament who cannot be bribed, and you will stand for the truth. You will vote for the right thing and cannot be controlled by the executive. And that is what will bring back the country. Because right now, believe it or not, there's no parliament. All those brains have been deleted and they're replaced with one person's brain. And they want independent brains in the house. What a member of parliament can do, you can do it. And we want to change the country. I believe if most of you run for office, and you don't have to belong to a political party or run independently, I believe if you run for office, 2027, you'll be elected. And therefore, let me hand over to my good friend Kaguchia, so that he can add one or two things, and we can start.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is 50 pages worth of CV. Mnafanya application, then we have 3 pages of CV. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a true testimony that your CV can go up to 50 pages. Sawa? Next, we have MP John Kaguchia.
I think I have been in touch with the AYLF for quite some time now. We have interacted with quite a number of you. Most of you who come to Parliament, I think they get me there and we get to interact a lot. I have hosted most of you, or quite a number of you. When I was a speaker in the County Assembly of Nyeri, I hosted, how many were they? 30 in my house overnight, and we had a lot of chat and talk. Here in Nairobi, when I became the MP, I think I also hosted again quite a number, and I can see quite a number of you here. So we have interacted. Yeah, they're here. In Parliament, I have also hosted you, not once, not twice, but I think about 3 or 4 times, and we have interacted a lot with the AYLF. My belief and my view of AYLF is that we are not here to talk about, let me say this, we are not here to just talk about bad governance. We are not just here to observe. We are not just here to see. We are not just here to shout and imagine and pinpoint what bad governance is all about. We are here to build ourselves so that we can be the ones governing this nation. And if that is not your view, and if that is not your view, then I don't think you are supposed to be in AYLF. Because here we want to build leaders, we want to make people who can govern, and people who can understand what good governance is about. And so for me, when, for example, I listen to our young lady, Buki Mboro, I really followed her journey, and I think it's very, very interesting, and I want to congratulate her. But I want to pick out what she has said is about value, positioning, zoning, and those people whom we have interacted, they know I have talked about the issue of value. I mean, I talk about it more often than anything else. Now, I had prepared something very small here, which I want to just read a few paragraphs, because I still needed to put a few points down. And this is my view about governance, that governance at the core must be understood as the process of overseeing the control and direction of something, such as a country or an organization. When the youth first get this mindset correct, then there will be a shift that enables them to see the importance of this process, as well as their needed contribution to its success. Because the way a nation thinks determines, in the end, the quality of its governance. Now, that is very important. The way every nation thinks determines the quality of the governance. And of course, this thinking must be inculcated in our youth. The youth must think correctly about matters of governance. And then governance really is about competence and ideology. So one of the things that you must get when you are in AYLF is that you must get the right ideology. And then you must also be competent. That competence is very important. I think that is where the issue of value is coming about. And of course, we say that competence will actually be, one must possess the ability to create a shared vision and craft the executable strategy that will see the vision come to fruition. Because even if then you have a good ideology and you are competent, then that competence must help you to come up with a strategy that then will create a shared vision, and then that must come to fruition so that you can be able to govern and lead. One must possess the capacity to effectively and efficiently execute the strategy. One must also regard the laws and institutions that provide oversight to the process of governance. Now, I do not want to go beyond that. I have something here maybe I can share. But what I want to say is this. I've just come from a meeting when I came here, and that's why maybe I was a little bit early. I came from a meeting here in Radisson Blu at the, what do you call it, Arboretum. And I was meeting some people from an industry. It's much more in the tourism industry. And the reason why I was meeting this group of people is because they saw what I updated, I think 2 days ago on my Facebook. And I said the reason why I will not be supporting the finance bill, phase 2. We have finance bill that is back in Parliament now. I don't know whether you are aware of that, but indeed it is. So if you look at my Facebook account, you'll see I have done a bit of analysis of what it is about, and I've highlighted the issues that I will not be supporting in this finance bill. And by the way, I did the same in the other one as well. I highlighted quite a number of things that were not good and that ought not to have been in the finance bill. Now I have done that, and I have said why I will not be supporting it. So a number of people in the industry saw some of the issues I had highlighted, and they called me. And they want to understand how they are going to deal with the issues relating to their industry. Good people, for you to be able to make an impact, you must look at the issues. And I think that is what I was sharing here with Fanyamambo. I was telling him, we must, again, he has advised that we don't throw our bodies, we throw our brains. And I'm challenging him here that one of the things that we must do is that let us look at the issues that are raised in the clauses of the finance bill that we are having now, and look at the impact that they are going to have. And let that be the discussion. Let us look at the issues, and that's why I highlighted the issues, so that anyone who wants to pick on them can be able to pick on a few issues that they can be able to discuss and look at, and let's see how they are going to be impactful in our nation and in whatever we do. So what I'm trying to say is this. We must develop our capacity as young people. We must have the correct ideology. We must have the correct view. We must have the value. we must have the brain that is able to process and understand the issues that we want to deal with as young people. I was elected as a chairman of the students in Kenyatta University in 2006 to 2007. I was a KUSA president then. And one of the questions I was asked, again, when I was leaving the university, is what next after your leadership in this university? And I told them I'm clear with what I want to do. I'm going to be in governance. I'm going to be active in politics in coming days, and I'm going to be in parliament. And how do you transition that? You are a student now. You have been a student leader. How do we transition this into that, into now being in the active politics and being in that governance space? I mean, that is very important, and I think that is what AYLF is all about. That is why we have so many universities we have so many university students, but they are not here, all of them. We have so many university students, but they have not had the privilege of being in AYLF. And AYLF is going to shape us and help us then to improve ourselves. Because people, we might complain, we might pinpoint what bad governance is all about, but then, let's say we have kicked out all those guys who are in governance today. Do we have the right frame of mind, the right quality, the right ideology? Are we prepared then to take on leadership? If we said that the president of this republic is going to come from AYLF, who will that be? Do they have the capacity? Will they be able to govern and lead? That is a question. And that is what I think we need to do as AYLF. Guys, it's always a pleasure to be with you. I really do not want to repeat my story so much because I think a lot of you now have shared with you. If I repeat so much of my journey, I might be boring some of you. But you know, the issue of value addition for me has always been key and very important, as I told you. Did commerce in the university. Immediately after that, I went to the University of Nairobi again and did a master's in diplomacy and international studies. Immediately after that, again, I went back to do law. That is a degree in law. Immediately after that, again, I went to do a postgraduate diploma in law to be an advocate. And guys, all that has been very helpful in my journey and has helped me to shape my thinking and my mind a lot in what I do today. I think I want to leave it at that so that then we can engage more in the discussion for tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable. And we're going to have Morgan, and then we go straight to the panel discussion.
Hello, hi everyone. My name is Morgan Waithaka. By profession, I'm a communication specialist. I have a bachelor's degree in communication. Currently, I work in healthcare as focusing on digital marketing, creating digital strategies and digital communications. Glad to be part of AYLF. My CV is quite short, not like my seniors here.
That is very, very understandable, isn't it, guys? But you are getting there slowly. And the topic for our panel discussion today is transforming grassroots movement into legislative change. Different movements by the youth that are driving for a certain change in the community. They are driving certain agenda. They want to be heard. They want the government to look into their issues. They want to see change in certain aspects of the community that they feel is not good or is not right. And this panel, I'm sure, is going to do justice to this discussion. And prepare your questions, guys. We are going to have questions. I know you have a lot. By the end of this panel discussion. Right into it, I'm going to pose my first question to Senator Dan Maanzo. And you have been in leadership for quite some time now, politically, and maybe in your time in campus too. And you have been a lawmaker. You have been a member of parliament for 2 times, and now you are the current senator. And I want to ask a question, and this question is, what are the policies that are in place to ensure that the voices of the youth are heard, and whatever they are talking about may be in terms of policy change are being taken into consideration? We have seen the youth go to the streets, maybe issues of finance bill, maybe the issues of the university funding model, and how can we ensure that these issues are taken into consideration and policies are done to ensure that the youth voices are being heard?
Our policy in Kenya is a constitution, the new constitution 2010. And wherever the country has a policy paper or has a policy on an issue, policy is what informs the law which is going to be enacted in Parliament. And we have quite a number of policies which have gone through cabinet and come to the House to be approved, like the cooperatives policy. And therefore, we've got good policies on paper. We've got a good constitution on paper. But as Wakili Jiru will tell you, when it comes to its application, it becomes another story. When you go to the judiciary, you find an intimidated judiciary. So if you are making an application or you want something interpreted by the court, if it's very political and at times against the system, you will find a very, very intimidated judiciary. And I'm saying so authoritatively, having enough information to support that assertion. When you come to the House, where law is supposed to be passed, and you know the Constitution understands the issues of youth very well, and one of it also understands the right to education, the right to clean water, the right to good housing. All those things are in the Constitution, and there are enabling laws to make sure that they are brought into use. But what ails the country when the judiciary is malfunctional, when Parliament is malfunctional, and it needs to go back to factory settings so that you can have a better country. Because they are the ones who check the executive. The county assemblies are the ones who check the governors to make sure that the monies which go to the county for the development of the rural part of Kenya is put into good use. Now the executive delays that money. And for 4 months now, governors have no money to pay salaries. You can imagine if you are working for county government and there is no salary for you for 4 months. So I want to say that Kenyans, when they got a good constitution, they've had very good hope. And there is a lot of hope for the future. This is the future. First, there are many people who are 18 years and above, and they don't have an identity card. If you don't have one, please register as a citizen. It is also a criminal offense not to register as a citizen after 18 years. Then secondly, when we have IBC in place and there's registration, voter registration, please register as a voter. You notice that 8 million Kenyans did not vote. So when you don't vote, then you participate in bringing in a bad government, bad governance. Everybody wants a government to be good, but unfortunately, the government is run by a lot of people, most of them dishonest, and with the IBC, with the ESCC also malfunctioning because the court is not malfunctioning, and because the office of the ODPP, the public prosecutor, also politicized and malfunctioning. Then criminals who steal from the country get away from it. People steal from the government coffers. And then out of general mismanagement, misadvice, and a few things, you find ourselves in the tough times as we are today. Public perspective, which is the Constitution, is done cosmetically, and therefore, the views of the people do not get accommodated when you make important law, as the finance bill and many other laws. And when you go to court to interpret, as Njiru will do, then the judges take twists and turns, finally bend the Constitution and allow panya roots, and then the country suffers more and more. And therefore, we need people of integrity to serve the nation. We need a member of parliament who is not going to be bribed 100,000 to vote in a certain way. We want a member of parliament who is not captured, who is not threatened, who is not intimidated through the political party. And we want to say that it is only the young people who will change the political parties. Government is formed through political parties. So you need to be a member of a political party. I know the Gen Zs were denied an opportunity to register. Right now, it is next to impossible to register a political party. You'll be taken through so many complications unnecessarily, and such a huge expense, and an expectation that you must have an office in 24 counties and things like that. And without the funding of political parties, then it becomes. So political parties is where democracy begins. Then the political parties participate in an election. Then a people's government is elected, and it is expected to serve the people. So we need to correct all this. And you saw the church coming out strongly. The bishops are not mad. They live with the people. They know the problems. They have spoken about it. They have been replied back by very junior politicians. They have been hit back. And therefore we want a good nation which is God-fearing, which respects the law, and which respects fellow man and woman, and whereby people work with integrity in the executive, in parliament, and in judiciary. Many people have court cases which have been pending. There are many innocent young people in jail, in committee, for an offense they never committed. And that's why you should always remember the story of Joseph. He was in jail when he was innocent, but when he came out, he became a prime minister. I thank you.
Thank you very much. The issue of political parties and the inclusion of the youth is a great topic to discuss in, because I believe wherever the youth are given rise up for an opportunity, maybe to run for a seat, when the time for nominations comes, they are being told to step down, and we are going to come to that. But I want to pose a question to Honorable John. We have seen recently in the parliament, we have seen a bill that was introduced by Mbere North MP, Geoffrey Ruku, that was talking about, it was termed as the demonstration bill. It was, if passed, it would grant the Interior Cabinet Secretary authority to set strict rules that govern the demonstrations that are being done in the country, and it proposes an office of a regulating officer, which demands that the protesters should be known by the government, and without considering the fact that if the protesters are exposed, they suffer a risk of being maybe manhandled, as we've seen before. So my question is, how do you approach such a bill to ensure that it does not give restriction to the rights of protesters, their right to protest and their right to go to the streets to demand for whatever they are talking about?
Thank you very much. The bill by Honorable Ruku, the member for Mbere, on the issue of demonstration, to me, and I have discussed as much with him, I know he first of all mooted this bill in year 2023, when we had, I think 2022, 2023, where after the elections, and when we had the Azimio protestations or protesters in the roads. And of course, it seems to have been revived during the Gen Z's demonstrations. One of the things I have raised with him is that this bill, in one way or another, or in many ways, tends to limit the rights and the freedoms of Kenyans, and expressly actually goes against the good norm, the Constitution of Kenya, because the Constitution of Kenya guarantees the freedoms as a fundamental. We have freedoms and the rights that we have as citizens of this republic, and they are all protected by our Constitution. And any bill that may want to now limit that will definitely not sit well with our Constitution. Some of the issues that he says is that people should have a demonstration zone, maybe a demonstration area where you go and do your demonstrations. And maybe that demonstration area should be done somewhere like in Isiolo or somewhere in Isinya, or maybe at the river, or somewhere in Kangudo Road, away from the city, because he's looking at the issue of disruption. But again, the same constitution actually says that we have freedom and right to go and petition offices. So how will you petition the Minister for Interior in Isinya or in Isiolo? You get me? You have to go to their office. How will you be able to petition the Speaker of the National Assembly if you don't gather and protest outside of Parliament? I know many countries and many parliaments around the globe have areas where people go to do the protests. But that is some area which is made and prepared for the citizens around the institutions, like the parliament, the institution of parliament. But in our case, we don't have that. And so for that reason, you can't deny the people the right to protest and to demonstrate. Now, and that really is the reason why I wouldn't support that bill whatsoever. And should such a bill go through by bad luck or unfortunately, in the most unlikely scenario that it goes through, then any citizen has the right to go to court and move the court to see that this bill and the act in that case and that law is then against our constitution. So for me, as far as it's concerned, it limits the rights, it limits our freedoms, and these ones are provided for in the constitution. And so it doesn't hold, and it cannot succeed. I also want you to understand that sometimes members of parliament, sometimes they prepare certain bills, sometimes also to posture, to appease certain interests. You never know, maybe there's a member of parliament, and I know he was under some pressure during the Gen Z movement, because he probably was doing this bill at that point when there were Azimio demonstrations, and he was doing this because he wanted to show that he was so pro-government, and that he wanted a crackdown on the members of the opposition. But when did it come to the floor of the assembly? When was it brought? It was brought when the Gen Zs were protesting. And it was seen as an affront to the Gen Zs. I'm saying this because I had a discussion with him about it. And he was decrying how difficult it was for him now to face the young people with such kind of a bill in parliament. He had a very hard time to try and now convince anyone that this bill was actually not against Gen Zs, it was against the protesters in the Azimio demonstrations. And so sometimes members of parliament do that, to sometimes posture, sometimes create a name, and such. But you see, a bad idea is a bad idea. It doesn't matter when you bring it. It's just a bad idea. And so I would rather he did not bring that bill, and definitely it will still not see the end of the light in that parliament. I know it will not be voted for, and if it is, then it must be brought down through the courts of law.
It is very motivating, Honorable, to hear that you are big on the rights of the youth. And just right before we move to Morgan there, I'd like to ask, since we understand that the youth of this country are the future leaders, or some would argue are the leaders of today, what are some of the initiatives that you as a leader on your personal level is taking to ensure that the aspiration of young people at the grassroots, of course we are talking about transforming grassroots movement into making them alive. So what are some of the steps you take to ensure that these dreams of these people come alive?
I also want to say that, it's a very big abuse of human rights to mishandle people who are doing demonstration. They have given notice. They are not armed. They are not violent. In fact, the violence begins with the police. And that's why we went to court, and there was a stoppage of use of tear gas and that poisonous water, which will be sprayed on demonstrators. That's a total abuse of the Constitution. And unfortunately, the abductors, the people who do the abductions, have not yet been brought to book. And some of the abducted people, and that's why I was telling you, as an individual, when you participate in these things, you must take note that they are abductors. You must know that they are killers who do not follow the Constitution, who act without the authority of the law, and is without the judicial process. And therefore, anytime one does an offense in this country or you are held in police custody, you have to be placed before a court of law within 24 hours. If you don't do so, then when the lawyers go to court, they will make sure that you cannot be prosecuted because your rights were, they will object for you to be charged if you have been delayed more than 24 hours without a good reason.
One thing that you feel that Gen Z did not do right, or maybe something you feel like if it was done in another way, would have made more impact? And
unfortunately, the Gen Zs were infiltrated by thugs, goons. People will burn property, people will damage, people will break the law. And therefore, when the law is broken, then everybody's rounded up. So, unfortunately, now those people, I think, have been withdrawn. They are not there. And there's nothing wrong with a demonstration within the law. The message is gotten home, and it creates change, like what Mercy Tarus did in Eldoret. If you ever participate in a demonstration, you personally do not break the law. And that's why at some point the Gen Zs now withdrew from the demonstrations. They said on our part, the message is home. We have abandoned that idea. And sure enough, the president did not sign that law into law. What any leader must know is that under our Constitution, the people are supreme. The people's power is supreme. It's all that it is donated to the president, donated to parliament, and donated to judiciary. So it is the people who decide.
To Morgan, I know we've been quite quiet for some time, but this for you is also a good avenue because you as a youth leader, you have the leaders here and you can ask them any question.
I will say public participation, public barazas, engaging youth on social media. The X platform has been very active with youth, teaching people about civic education, which has been key in actually getting the knowledge to each youth in the country. I believe that is it.
Yeah, very great. And to Honorable John, what is the reception of maybe members of parliament to youth that are on the grassroots movement to ensure that they are incorporated in matters of leadership? The reception, how do you receive, maybe on a personal level as a leader, how do you receive the youth that are in grassroots movement trying to get to leadership positions and maybe drive a change in the community?
Thank you for the question. I think one of the things that I consider very important is when you see young people who are eager to participate, young people who have ideas, young people who understand what needs to be done or who seek to understand what needs to be done. Personally, that thrills me. It excites me. And when I talk about my grassroots in Mukurweini, I must consider AYLF also to be part of my grassroots. By the way, as a matter of fact, some of the things that I do and some of the motivations sometimes I have, I always know that I have an accountability group of young people whom I deal with either directly or indirectly in the AYLF group. And so I consider that to be very, very important. Now, the only one challenge sometimes I notice is that the young people sometimes do not want to understand or follow through, to understand how things work. And I think it's very important, and I would want to say this as I probably touch on the issue you have asked, what do we think maybe Gen Zs would do better? And what I can say is, it's very important that people understand how the process works. Because once you understand how the process works, then you know at what point do you inject what. You see, like the meeting I'm saying I had with the people from the industry, tourism industry, who want some change in the taxation in their industry. They are coming at this time because they understand that the process has begun. They understand for them to be able to succeed, then they need to do 1, 2, 3. If they do not follow through that process, one of the things that is likely to happen is that things will happen without them knowing, and they are likely to be passed. And so, what is important for the young people in the grassroots and in every sphere of governance is to understand what process goes on when and where and how, like the budget making process, so that you know how to infuse your ideas and how to come on board. Like when we are making like for example, across the country now, members of parliament are supposed to be doing public participation on what the CDFs are supposed to do in the next 1 year. So at the grassroots level, if you do not understand that this is the time that you're now supposed to take your ideas, and that time passes, then you see, at that point in time, you are likely to now come later on once the proposals have been taken to the board, and maybe you will not have much opportunity now to bring your ideas. So personally, I am excited and thrilled when I get the young people who are interested. Of course, there's also another group of young people who are neither interested nor concerned, and some of them will want to just throw jabs at you, insults, hurl insults, I'm sure. I don't know whether, Honorable Maanzo, you encounter this at some point. Some of them are like cyber bullies. You know them? Yeah, someone who doesn't want to understand exactly what is happening. Like now, if you come to WhatsApp groups in Mukurweini, you realize that many times I want to engage young people. But for me to engage you, then I must also see that you are raising issues that need engagement. You get? If, for example, you insult me, does that need engagement? It doesn't. Yeah, so if someone insults me, yeah, like yesterday, I'll give you an example. Yesterday, a young person said, sent a photo of another member of parliament who was playing pool table somewhere, and sent it to a Mukurweini group, and insulted me, yeah, and said, see what other members of parliament are doing with their young people, playing pool. Of course, he didn't know that the member of parliament was actually not playing pool with his people in his constituency. It was another constituency where he had visited. But he insulted me. So when I look at it, I know the young man. So I asked myself, do I need to engage him? Do I need to reply to that now? Is that a point of engagement? Not at all. But take, for example, another young man who raised an issue to do with the access road. And they told me that, you see, now this access road here, we have a problem because now it's raining, our cars are getting stuck, the KCSE, and engaged them. I told them, where is that? They told me, and we engaged quite a bit. I'm just giving an example. And so, if you really want to engage leaders, understand what the leadership issue is, understand what the issue is, and then engage the leaders on the issues. Always avoid the issues of personalities and also the issues that are not core to the issues that are of benefit to all of us. If you do that and you're a member of parliament or even the leader is not interested, then there's a problem. Personally, I always want to, actually I saw another one on one of the WhatsApp groups again last week, someone asking me about this issue of taxation. They asked me, can you also highlight to us, no, it was actually this week, can you highlight to us also the good things that are in there, you know? And that is someone who needs engagement. So at that point you engage. So that really is my attitude, and that is how I take it and how I feel when that engagement come about.
Well. Honorable, you've talked about the youth need to understand how these processes work. And for Morgan, since you are a fellow in a Ajibika Youth Leadership Program, what is the role of civic education in ensuring that the youth are taking the right progress in asking for accountability and transparency from their leaders? As we are winding up because of time, maybe just briefly, Morgan.
I think civil education is very important because it helps youth to actually know how to address the leaders. They know how to actually raise issues the way John is saying, Honorable John is saying. It is actually knowing your rights as a youth, as a Kenyan. It's actually easy for you to actually address your concerns. Maybe it's access road to your home, maybe it's healthcare at the hospitals, maybe it's education. Once you know your right as a Kenyan, as a youth, you'll know how to actually address the members of.
Well then, how do you ensure that you mentor the youth of this country to be fit to the position that they will hold in future leadership position?
I work with quite a number of young people from Makueni, and I do a lot of mentoring, but I pick the talents during the campaign process. Always, if you want to succeed, volunteer to do something. It is when you volunteer, then people see your talents. So I picked out quite a number of young people who are in university in 2013, and they volunteered to join my campaign, and they did the job very well. So one of them was a fourth year, became my personal assistant immediately I was elected. I gave him an office in Parliament, and he was still in University of Nairobi. I used to pay him 100,000 a month, but I quickly discovered that he had stopped coming to campus. He had bought a Subaru, and I had to force him to finish his degree. After being my personal assistant for 10 years, now he has been elected as an MCA of his ward. I am very sure after a few years being an MCA, he'll soon become a member of parliament. I expect him to become a senator. I expect him to become a governor, and maybe one day he'll be president of the Republic of Kenya.
Well.
Yeah, so I have also taken on the issue of mentorship. One of the things that Gabriel will testify, I don't know whether Gabriel is here, is that, is he here? Well, oh, he's not the one. Yeah, one of the things that he will testify is that I have had a very open door policy for AYLF who may want mentorship. And that is why from time to time he requests that I participate in mentorship programs. Today, as I said, I had a very, very important political arrangement and engagement to do. But then because he had booked me for this event, which I thought was on a Friday, that is why I engaged the Saturday. And by the way, getting members of parliament or politicians on Saturdays and Sundays, you must count it as a blessing. It's a real sacrifice for us. So to me, I consider this group very important. That's why I've been very consistent in terms of the young people who are brought to me, in terms of mentorship. Even when we have a Bunge Fellowship, these members of Bunge Fellowship are always telling me, Kaguchia, we have AYLF coming, you must be ready. And we are ready to do that. I've also mentored groups. I have a Sky Art Production, for example, that I am their patron. They do creative arts, and they I've supported them to purchase things like cameras, tripods, and also other materials that are necessary. They act in schools. It's a very good group. I have employed 2 of their members. One of them is working in my office. The other one is, I left them working in the county assembly. I also mentored my young PA, whom I also picked up and mentored him. He's also a member of county assembly now. But for him, I nominated him. He was not elected. I nominated him, and he's doing a very good job also. And he has taken on the kind of work we were doing with him when I was a speaker. What I would want to say, I would be very ready to continue mentoring a lot, especially on issue-based approach to our national issues. For AYLF, we need to have a voice also on issues that are happening in the nation. I have, by the way, Honorable Senator, I don't know, maybe we can team up on this. I've decided that every week I will want to be doing a presser on topical issues and push government or give ideas or give solutions to certain issues that are of importance to our nation. We've done the one for femicide the other day, and I don't know whether the young people are any longer in the mainstream media, but if you're in the mainstream media, you must have seen some of the things we did on femicide, which I consider very important. And as you are in the social media, I also think even in the mainstream media, you still need to be seen and you need to be felt. So I think AYLF need to be doing press conferences also on issues that are important to this nation. So we have young girls, women who are being killed in this nation. We need to pressure for action, you know, and for us to be able to do that, we need to call to action through all the media that is available, social media and also the mainstream media. And so for me, that is one of the areas which I think I can also be useful to you if you so wish to participate. If you pick on, like now, these finance bill issues, if you pick on an issue that you think is going to be of importance to you. For example, you may not know, I don't know whether you're aware, in this finance bill that we're doing now, we are raising the cost of calling rates with 20%, and the bundles also with 20%. You see, that directly affects you, doesn't it? So maybe that is an area, or that is an issue that you want to pick on. And if you make a presser on that issue and talk about it and see how it is going to affect you, blah, 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 I'm sure if you talk as young people and you're calling yourself, you are so-and-so, this group, I'm sure it will draw attention. And someone somewhere in a certain corner might just reconsider their position on that matter. So I think we said we throw brains into everyone. Let's use it strategically, and we'll achieve so much. And I'm ready and willing to hold hand, definitely in an organized manner, not someone approaching me in parliament. I want to do a presser. You said you're going to assist us. Can I do one on this one thing? So if it is done in an organized way, we can help and we can work together. And I'm sure even Senator Maanzo here would be more than willing to participate in that. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
The Honorable Kaguchia and myself appear on television shows to press this issue. So at times they need young people, and we could be recommending through your leadership, Gabriel, so that some of you can then go and share out your ideas on how to build the nation on national television. I'm sure that will go a long way to help you from your village.
And we pray that you may never be compromised, and you may continue doing what you do, especially with the youth of this country. When I see these people, I see a lot of great potential. And if you as leaders don't support us, this potential is going to just go away like that. And so much issues that we wanted to talk about, but because of time, guys, I think that will be the end of our panel. But Just before that, I'd like to take maybe 2 questions only because of time, guys. We are going to have this debate later on. Maybe Gabriel, if you can organize that we may have another session like this, it will be very helpful. Maybe because of time, kindly keep it short.